Hi everyone, we're about to go into the lunar eclipse cycle and I have a few questions that I wanted to ask you. How many of you are feeling that the energy is incredibly intense at the moment? It's making you feel a little bit jagged, a little bit rough around the edges, irritable, a tad emotional, and actually slightly wrung out. How many of you are feeling that old wounds, old feelings, old pains are surfacing back into your awareness? You know, the kind that we thought we'd dealt with, that we'd healed from, that we'd sorted out once and for all. And yet here they are again, making us go over old ground. They're showing up in our mind, in our heart, in our energy field yet again. How many of you are struggling to sleep? And when you close your eyes, it feels like you've got a swarm of bees that are kind of buzzing between your ears. You're feeling a little bit spaced out and sometimes finding it hard to concentrate, hard to complete tasks. How many of you are finding that people are very close to the edge right now? They're flying off the handle, they're exploding first into fire and then ice. They're easily offended. Oh my God, how easily offended. They're super grumpy, judgmental, critical as all hell. And you're asking yourself, it's like everybody's lost the plot, leaving you scratching your head and thinking, what on earth did I do or say to get this reaction? How many of you just want to stop the world for a while, crawl to the back of a dark cave, preferably by yourself, with a ton of chocolate, a library of good books, and a sign that says, do not disturb for the next week or two? And here's the last question. How many of you are dealing with changes on the home front? Whether it's a complete relocation or whether you're moving to a new house, whether people in the house that you share are actually moving out. So children are moving out and leaving home, for instance, building, renovating, decorating, or maybe you're just feeling that urge that says declutter, minimize, get rid of some of this mess so that you can get some sanity back into your home space. My name is Schoning. I'm from the Soul Lighthouse, and I want to tell you that if you relate to any or all of these points, then you are in good company. The energy right now is super intense. We are in the second of a 3-month cycle of supermoons. If you follow Jyotish astrology, we've got 5 planets in retrograde. If you follow Western astrology, we've got 6 planets in retrograde. So all hell is breaking loose. And now we are in the solar and lunar eclipse cycle as well. Friday the 27th, it is a full moon eclipse, and this is an eclipse that's going to be seen by most of the world. In fact, it's just the US, Canada, and Greenland that are missing out on it, and it is the longest eclipse of the century. It's going to be almost an hour and 43 minutes long. That's an incredibly long period to have this eclipse. And today I want to spend a little bit of time talking about what does it mean right at this time and why is it causing all of these emotional effects? Well, in astrology, the moon governs a number of aspects. She governs our emotions. She governs our subconscious. She governs what is bubbling under that we're not always aware of. She governs our relationships. The moon signifies the home, it signifies the mother, and she shapes all of that stuff of who we are at our deepest core, our deepest needs, our deepest drivers, what it is that makes us feel emotionally safe and emotionally secure. So when her energy gets obscured for any length of time, all of these aspects can feel like they're being completely overwhelmed. It's almost as if all our security blankets are being taken away all at the same time. All of our tethering ropes have been cut loose, and our emotions, not our mind, not our spirits, are running the show. Now, the energy of the eclipse this year is specifically intense. You know that we are in a space of recalibration and realignment. And if you want to know more about what's happening, watch the July energy report. I'll put the link at the end of this video. But the best way that I can explain what is happening right now, it's like watching a wave form. And we're seeing this wave and it's getting higher and higher and bigger and fatter. And we expect this wave to crash at any moment. But it doesn't. It just gets bigger and it just gets higher and it just goes faster and faster until we feel it's got to reach its peak soon. It's getting to a crescendo. Surely it's got to reach its peak and it's got to crash. And we have this incredible sense of intensity and pressure and anticipation and anxiety and overwhelm, almost as if it makes it feel like it's a little bit hard to catch your breath while we're waiting for this wave to crash. It's a bit like watching a woman who is 9 months pregnant. You know, we're in this space where we're in an energy of rebirthing. We're in an energy of recalibration. So when I ask you to imagine a pregnant woman, she's 9 months pregnant, she's feeling heavy and ponderous with this baby that's in her belly. And every contraction that she has seems to get higher and higher and harder and harder until it feels like they can't possibly get any more intense. And with each contraction that this woman has, it's almost as if she's losing perspective of the outside world as all of her attention and all of her awareness shrinks to what is happening to her and to this baby within her. In order for a baby to be born, the pregnancy has to die. And it's an exhilarating but uncomfortable process. And this eclipse that we are in at this point in time marks that point at where the energy of who we are becoming is beginning to be born. It's almost as if the pregnancy of who we are is coming to an end, and what we are feeling are these very intense, very heavy, very uncomfortable contractions. Not a comfortable process, but who we are becoming is being birthed. Now, on top of that, this eclipse is of huge significance for a number of reasons. It is sandwiched between Saturn and Mars. And we know that Saturn is the teacher of lessons. It is the grief bringer. It is the one who makes us learn from our past so that we don't repeat it in our future. And this is why some of us are feeling old emotions, old wounds, old pains, and thoughts resurfacing. Saturn is saying to you, let it go, put it down. Those heartaches, those traumas, the chaos, the pain of who you were doesn't belong in who you are becoming. Don't take it into the next cycle. And so we are in a space where anything that hasn't been resolved, anything that needs deep, deep healing, is bubbling up to the surface and saying, heal me now. Remember also Saturn is retrograde, and so it's intensifying those lessons and those learnings. If you're waking up and you're thinking, oh, I thought I'd done with this. I had exactly that feeling yesterday. Some old energy came up and I thought, where is this coming from? What is this for? I've dealt with this. I thought I dealt with this. Why is this on my plate again? And this is Saturn saying, finish it, clean it, sweep it out, get rid of it, so that it is part of who you were, part of the pregnancy. It's not part of the baby. The second thing you need to know is that the other part of the sandwich is Mars. We're sandwiched between Saturn and Mars. And so Mars is also in retrograde, and Mars is all about direction and leadership and authority and control. But in retrograde, it can be a grumpy old man, it can be stubborn, it can be scattered, and it can have absolutely no idea of how to organize and orchestrate and keep law and order. It is moody as hell in retrograde, and it can be oh so easily offended. And some of us are experiencing people around us who are just taking offense at absolutely everything. If you're having people fly off the handle for no good rhyme or reason, this is Mars being triggered by the lunar madness that's happening right now. So imagine your sandwich. We've got the grief bringer, learn your lesson, learn your lesson. And we've got Mars, which is really just out to lunch and feeling really quite grumpy and irritable. And now we've got the lunar eclipse in the middle. And the 27th of July, which is when this eclipse is happening, is also the energy, it's the day that we celebrate Guru Purnima. Now, Guru Purnima is the day that we honor our teacher and we honor the teachings that we have been fortunate to receive. And of course, we always think of our teacher as that who passes on the sacred truths, the sacred lessons, the sacred learnings. Sometimes, though, our teachers give lessons and they get gold stars and we get A pluses and we get to the top of the class. And sometimes our teachers give lessons with disciplines and with detentions. Guru Purnima is about celebrating and honoring the teacher, honoring the lesson, whether he's given you gentle, sacred teaching or whether he's given you tough love. It's about this energy of the light of the sacred teaching being available to all. So what happens when we've got a lunar eclipse, which is obscuring the light, obscuring the emotion, and obscuring the sense of equilibrium happening on Guru Purnima? It's significant because what it means is for this period, the teaching is obscured. And that is making us feel rudderless and cast adrift of what it is we know to be true. It's not that the teaching is gone, it's that the knowledge of the teaching is obscured, that this light of teaching is in the darkness. And so it's making so many of us feel a little bit wobbly and a little bit insecure in this time. So what do? How do we go through a lunar eclipse? So here's what you need to know. A lunar eclipse is spectacular to look at, and blood moons especially so. They really are the most spectacular event to look at, but they are considered to be incredibly inauspicious because it is the obscuring of emotional equilibrium. It's the obscuring of the feminine. It's the obscuring of light. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that we are very, very grounded during this period. Try to make sure that you're not driving and you're not operating heavy machinery during this time. Try to make sure that you're not doing anything that requires heavy concentration, that is demanding of concentration, because you might feel yourself being very scattered. What you want to do is you want to check your time zone to make sure when you know that this lunar eclipse is going to be happening in your time. A lunar eclipse is also, it's considered to be a time of destruction, deterioration, and decomposition. And so we want to make sure that we don't eat or we don't drink at this time. In fact, it's considered that anything that we eat or drink decomposes at something like 100 times its normal rate. So for that 2-hour period that this eclipse is happening, you want to make sure you're not drinking or eating anything because you don't want to put the energy of decomposition into your body. It's definitely not the time to start anything new. If you've got anything that you need to start, give it until at least 4 days after the eclipse. You want to be in a space of maintenance. You don't want to be in a space of starting anything new during this period. For 4 hours before and for 4 hours after the eclipse, we want to focus our mind on mindful mantras, mantras that are going to increase light and increase consciousness. And the gurus tell us that if we can meditate during this time, that any spiritual practice or any spiritual reflection on light is magnified again 100-fold. So we want to be in this space where we are consciously focusing on the light. Be soft with yourself. Be kind to yourself. It's a jagged energy. There's nothing smooth about an eclipse, especially as we've just gone into Mercury retrograde today. So you want to be kind. You want to be gentle with yourself. You want to avoid situations and people that are just going to present conflict or tension or arguments. So just be mindful of the people that you choose to be around. We feel an eclipse up to 4 days before and up to 4 days afterwards. And I will tell you, I woke up as grumpy as anything this morning. I had hardly any sleep last night. And so I was incredibly irritable, incredibly jagged this morning. So if you're struggling to sleep, this is normal. You will find that you're going to start calming down, or your energy will calm down within 2 to 4 days after the eclipse. So just be aware that the balance will come back, the grumpiness will fade, people will kind of come back to center. So don't react, try and pull back so that you can respond with the awareness. You will sleep a full night again, I promise. We just need to be gentle until this energy calms, because you know what, letting go of the old is great, but sometimes it's not that easy. Sometimes it's not that simple, and it causes us anxiety. It's tough, it's irritable. I'm reminded of the energy of transformation. I don't know if you've ever seen a snake that sheds its skin. For a snake to shed its skin so that it can transform to who it is underneath, it actually takes its head and it brushes it up against the hardest surface it can find. And it looks hell of uncomfortable, and it looks actually quite painful. And it does it until it splits the skin on its head. And then slowly it starts to emerge and pulsate out of its old skin. And if you've ever seen a snake that has actually just come out of its skin, just shed the old skin, it is absolutely exquisitely iridescent. The colors on its skin are just so profoundly beautiful. And this is where we are. We are shedding the old so that the new can emerge. So just be very gentle with yourself, and just be very gentle with the people that are around you. So there you go, a very short, very quick insight into what's happening, and more importantly, into how you can hold your center as we're going through this. Hope you found it useful. Be gentle with yourself for 4 days afterwards. I will be back with you probably on the 1st of August, so 4 days after the eclipse, of what you can expect as we go into the energy of the new month. But until then, remember, gently does it. Gently does it. Ground, center, and be mindful of being conscious of the light. If you want to know more, drop me an email. My details are on the link below, or visit our website. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you found it useful, and I will be back with you soon. Until then, have a gentle, gentle weekend over the eclipse. Bye for now.